It was the sudden appearance of a warp storm at the Kaurava system's outer edge that first caught the attention of the Imperium, and not just the Imperium. After hundreds of years under the neglectful watch of the Imperial Guard, nearly every force in the galaxy would descend upon the planet of Kaurava, bent only on domination and victory. 3 races had long dwelled in there. The Imperial Guard, its supposed rulers, the Orc tribes of Kaurava II, which the Guard had never successfully put down, and the Necron, who had slept undisturbed for untold millennia beneath Kaurava III. Where the Chaos Marines came from, or how, none can say. Did the Warp Storm bring them, or did they bring the Warp Storm? Both appeared suddenly on Kaurava IV, and in an eye blink, half the system's Imperial forces were gone, killed or claimed by the madness of chaos. In quick succession, the others flocked to Kaurava. The Space Marines, the Imperium's super soldiers, descended on Kaurava II, planning to finally cleanse the system, both of the troublesome Orcs and the Chaos Marines, the sworn mortal enemies. The DOW appeared next, not far above, on one of the planet's moons. In the interests of protecting its ordered empire from the effects of human folly, the DOW came seeking to contain the Warp Storm, and in so doing, expand the territory's border. On their moon, they built a mighty fortress, and there forged a space cannon capable of interplanetary devastation. Among the wastes of Kaurava III, the Necrons, perhaps awakened by the disruptive forces of the Warp Storm, slowly massed their lethal legions. In quick response, webway gates, long unused, flickered to life, and Eldar poured forth, ready to battle their dark, death-dealing adversaries. Meanwhile, in the shadow of an ancient portal gate, the Dark Eldar slipped stealthily out of the murky depths of the webway. They would be like carrion birds, flying above the battlefield, and when all were weary from the fight, make the battlefield into a feasting ground. Last to arrive, and perhaps most to be feared, were the Sisters of Battle, holy maidens and bearers of the God Emperor's faith. They had come to cleanse the system of corruption and filth. Their faith left them fanatical, unafraid of death and zealous in their cause. Nothing here was clean. All must be purged. Now, war rages anew, and only the victorious may write their history. Only the victorious will claim the planets of Kaurava. It was no secret that it was the warbus Gorguts himself who led the Wa in the Kaurava conflict. But who were the Orcs he led? Imperial records indicate that these Orcs had always been in Kaurava, going back at least a millennium. It seems that when Gorguts arrived, they welcomed him as a long-awaited hero. These rugged Kauravan Orcs had sometimes overrun the system's 4 planets, and sometimes been beaten back to their secret stronghold in the Rockclaw Mountains. There had never once been a successful attempt to breach the vast hideout there, and the orcs believed there never could be. But in the past, these orcs had always retreated to this place in great numbers at the first sign of defeat. Gorgut saw such behavior as un-orky. He insisted that you had to take a bolter round or two if you wanted to win. And Gorguts lived only to win. Gorgut's strategy meant that the orc stronghold was not invincible. But this did not mean that it was undefended. Reaching the lair was one thing. Penetrating its defenses was entirely another.
You see, Big Boss Gorgut, this here's the strongest and bestest orc horde has ever held an orc.
Oh, is that so then?
Ain't no Yumi's got in here ever. With the rock-claw mountains all round us, there's only one way in. Even if there was to get in, they'd have all the boys to face. Oh, and the knobs, and the tanks. Then there's the squig-offs.
Say they beat all that.
That's when we get them with the fighter bombers. We'd squash them to a pulp. We got watchers watching day and night. Nobody but an orc gets close to us without we see them and crush them to smithereens. Boss! Boss! There's enemies in the camp! What? In the camp? We gotta stop them before they gets to the killing spot. Them drums! Beat the drums! Get to him!
What's this here killing spot?
Beat the drums! We've got to hold the killing spot!
Bestest orc horde ever, huh?
My beautiful orc horde!
I've had enough of this. Come on, boys. Let's get out of here.
In terms of fighting orcs, the Blood Ravens found as great a challenge in the Rocklaw Mountains as any they had ever faced. First was the difficulty in assailing the mountain stronghold itself. Second were the tactics of the infamous war boss Gorguts, whose prowess grew greater with every campaign he fought and survived. As great as the challenge was, the Blood Ravens proved themselves matchless soldiers, undaunted by any foe. After overcoming the orc hordes and laying waste to their ancient enclave, the Space Marines proceeded to hunt down every last orc they could find in those mountains. There was only one blemish in the Space Marines' otherwise flawless execution. Gorguts himself somehow eluded their grasp. Some reports attested to a crude rocket which took off at the battle's end, while others claim the blast was a timed bomb, closing off a tunnel entrance to cover the Great Orc's escape. The vast Tau military complex on Karava II's second moon had always been intended for purposes above and beyond the current war. In a Tau-dominated solar system, this complex would become a key outpost on the Empire's border. This moon base had been named Nan Yanoi, or Sword Moon, referring to the powerful Arca cannon built there. This weapon could fire its devastating ion beam on any territory of any planet in the system. Heavy fortifications and anti-aircraft arrays were not enough for the Earth-cast architects of Nan Yanoi. To these, they added an ambitious orbital perimeter defense system, which would fire ion beams similar to that of the Arca cannon, tuned to harm only intruders and spare Nan Yanoi's infrastructure from any damage. When complete, Nan Yanoi would be unassailable. Unfortunately, the Tau stronghold was attacked before it was complete. Many systems and fortifications were not yet fully operational, including the perimeter defense system. An invasion fleet could be shot down, but they could not as easily protect against a small force from making a beachhead at one of the gaps in the Tau's outer defenses. Such a feat would be extraordinarily difficult, but it might just be possible.
We welcome your gracious presence, Aun Royu. I see that our Earth-cast engineers have made splendid progress in constructing the Nan Yanoi base station. Yes, Your Eminence, it is nearly complete. There are only a few gaps remaining in our perimeter defenses, and they are heavily guarded until our orbital defense system is fully operational.
Setting stabilizers. Ready to fire.
Excellent. And this Arca cannon you have built, quite a marvel, as I understand it. Indeed. From this moon, we can fire on any habitable territory in the Kaurava system. Do you wish to inspect it yourself? It harms only advanced life forms, thus avoiding damage to structures and plant life. This is indeed most commendable. Our orbital defenses were built using the same technology. Both are controlled from this location. What is that? The perimeter has somehow been breached. I must attend to this. Please, Your Excellence, return to the Coalition Center. Yes, that may be best. Dispatch Pathfinders, locate the source of the breach, and see that they do not gain entrance and establish a foothold. Notify all Fire Warriors and Kroot Carnivore squads. Let us hope that our defenses are strong enough to hold them. Noble Ethereal! Oh, we have lost you! We have lost all!
To Commander Indrik Boreal's company of intrepid blood ravens, the Nan Yanoi moonbase's reliance on defense, unholy technology, and indirect fire were anathema to all they stood for. To defeat such an enemy was to prove, in Boreal's mind, that the superiority of his men could conquer all. Of course, the DOW saw their defeat differently. The tragic loss of a revered, ethereal, and famed military commander was interpreted after the fact as a failure to employ sufficiently rigorous methods. Having little use for static defenses, Boreal left only enough men as were required to hold their conquest. No more. The commander thought that once he had claimed the Kaurava system for the Imperium, the moon would make a fine depot for the Adeptus Mechanicus. The Sisters of Battle rely greatly on their faith. It is their sustenance and their shield. When they first came to the tainted world of Kaurava, Confessor Turganum March was quick to see how much holy light and fire it would take to cleanse the 4 planets. He therefore brought the living Saint Anais and placed her in their primary bastion in Sama on Kaurava 1. Following a secret and ancient practice, the living saint was imbued with the inviolable aura. An aura of invincibility, which would prevent any chance, he thought, of defeat. Guarded at the last by this inviolable aura, the Sisters of Battle marched with great surety. Who, in truth, would dare oppose them? What adversary could faith and fire not sweep from before them? In the face of chaos and vile aliens, the Sisters of Battle merely redoubled their fervent prayers and penances and fought on. They came to believe that glorious victory was the only outcome. The idea that any would dare attack their mighty bastion was unthinkable. The possibility that their bastion could fall beyond belief.
Good, she comes.
Sisters, the living holy saint of the Emperor, Saint Anais, scourge of heretics. Now, in the name of the Emperor!
Good.
There, it is done. May the Emperor's blessing carry us on to victory, sisters!
We thank you, honored martyr.
So... it is true, then. These blessed shrines will confer invincibility?
Indeed. Within each shrine lies a true and sacred relic of the ecclesiarchy. Now that the edifices have been blessed by a living saint, they confer upon her the inviolable aura, as scribed and fervently mastered by the great ecclesiarch Jonasiah Vuonis.
And wherever she goes, no harm may befall us?
Precisely. Neither our persons nor our belongings.
One pure bright candle amidst a sea of filth and darkness!
That is well said, Canoness. This is a tainted system. It may, in fact, be irredeemable.
Then we shall purge it with fire. I have yet to find a cinder that was not faithful in its praise of the Emperor. All is made ready? Yes, mistress. Good. These would-be conquerors shall have a taste of our fire and faith. The Emperor will punish them through us. sisters! We must go as martyrs! We must go in flames! In flames!
Space Marines attack!
The charter of the Blood Raven's Ninth Company in the Kaurava conflict was undeniably clear. Stabilize the system, defeat all forces of chaos, and neutralize any opposing force. When the Sisters of Battle gave them direct opposition, it was necessary that they be removed from the stage of battle. The Sisters of Battle, of course, were also acting on their own orders, following similar instructions to brook no opposition. Evidently, there was not enough room for more than one Imperial force in the system. Unfortunately, for the Sisters of the Order of the Sacred Rose, they were no match for the battle-hardened super soldiers they were forced to fight. Although the Sisters of Battle defended themselves admirably, they were handily overcome. Once vanquished, the Space Marines treated the surviving Sisters of Battle with the utmost deference, giving them swift medical aid and providing them with passage back to the Convent Sanctorum on Ophelia 7. The Imperial Guard's headquarters in the Dusala precinct of the city planet of Kaurava 1 was also the system's primary Baneblade production facility. Under the strong and capable leadership of the new Governor-General Vance Stubbs, the Guardsmen were once again well supplied, armed, and organized. Any attacker would find themselves facing a formidable amount of firepower. Since the outbreak of the Warp Storm on Kaurava 4, the Imperial Guard had known a humbling series of setbacks. Losing a full 3/4 of their fighting men was just a start. General Stubbs was determined to triumph in the face of this and all other adversity. Unfortunately, a full regiment of Baneblade tanks, the Guard's armored superweapon, had that very day been dispatched to various territories throughout the Kaurava system. The Dusala Precinct headquarters was thus left without a single Baneblade to its advantage. But they had their factories. Repair parts, munitions, and operating crews were moved via a system of convoys to the centrally located Mars pattern buildings, which produced the tanks. These convoys, then, were to be the Imperial Guard's weakest link, and also their greatest hope.
How are the men?
Tolerable, sir.
Morale?
Good at Central, poor in the front.
Casualties?
The same, sir.
Firing squads?
20 today, 12 for cowardice in the line of duty.
Baneblade production?
Tank crew, munitions and parts are arriving by convoy on schedule, sir. As you know, it takes only the most highly trained crew to properly operate a...
I know.
Very good, General.
How many do we have on hand?
Unfortunately, sir, a shipment of 100 Baneblades has just gone out to serve.
I see. Look at this. Once this was a fine city, gleaming beacon of the Emperor's light, a center of industry.
Now look at it. Commissar, I would like to see this city built up again. I would like to see towers and spires of gleaming white. I would like to see our men on parade routes, not tours of duty. I would like to see every city in this planet, every colony in this besotted, miserable system turn to the service and industry of the Imperium in the Emperor's name.
In the Emperor's name, sir.
But to see my dreams fulfilled, first we must wipe the system clean of these blasted Xenos and heretics and monsters and zealots. And to do that, this base, our center of command, must operate free of danger or harassment. Our troops are ready. Our tanks and our sentinels. And if the Emperor wills it, we will have functioning Baneblades. Tell me, Commissar, are we prepared? Or will we be lambs taken to slaughter? Well, we'll do what we can and pray for victory. The enhanced Basilisk cannon has been prepared by our tech priest engineers, has it not? It can be fired at will.
Very good, General.
It only requires an artillery spotter. We shall place our faith in the God Emperor.
In the Emperor's name, sir.
That will have to do the job. As always, we place faith in the Emperor. All my work, crushed. All the good men who gave their lives for this cursed, this blasted system. Though my army lies in ruins today, I have not done fighting, and I will remember who my enemies are.
When Force Commander Boreal ordered his men to attack the Imperial Guard in the Dusala precinct of Kaurava I, he knew full well what he was doing. There was no doubt in his mind that his actions were in the right. First, the 252nd Conservator Regiment was under great suspicion regarding their possible role in the Warp Storm's outbreak. Second, by offering resistance to Commander Boreal and his Blood Ravens, it was the Imperial Guard that was defying proper authority. Once the superior military tactics of the Blood Ravens had overwhelmed the 252nd Regiment and laid claim to their central command, the surviving guardsmen were treated as fellow comrades at arms. Commander Boreal ordered them safely return to Segmentum Command, where, unfortunately, few were likely to survive Inquisitional debriefing. Claiming the factories and munitions for their own, the Blood Ravens made ready to assume temporary stewardship of Kaurava's 4 planets. More than any other race, the Eldar concerned themselves with the distant past and the distant future. In visions, Farseer Keris anticipated the reawakening of their ancient foes, the Necrons, on Kaurava III. A webway gate, unused for many millennia, flickered to life. In the blink of an eye, a barren tract of the wasteland planet became a sprawling base of operations, and the Eldar army poured forth from it. Just as quickly, this stronghold vanished from the naked eye, concealed by Eldar artifice. The Eldar had learned long ago that no bulwark, no matter how strong, could halt the slow, implacable progress of the Necrons. Only illusion, deceit, and misdirection could accomplish that goal. And these are things at which the Eldar are peerless. The Eldar had prepared a harrowing gauntlet for their invaders, with all the feints and deceptions they could muster. This stronghold was not just a foothold, not just a key strategic point, not just home to many Eldar secrets. No! Through its long history, it had become sacred to the craft world Eldar, and they would defend it accordingly.
They approach. We are prepared.
Yes, Farseer, but
Yes?
must we fight?
We shall fight. They must never suspect. They shall come, expecting the obvious, the simple, the artless. They shall stab at the shadows with confused minds and troubled hearts. Meanwhile, we shall appear unseen from 10 directions, and from every one, strike a fatal blow. Do you know the history of this place, which we call Esselir Talith and the young races call the Upper Wastes?
We, the Eldar, made our war camp here. In a past age.
Yes, that is so. Our ancestors came here to fight the Necrons when they were an overwhelming wave that swept the worlds. This system was one of their stages of destruction, their foundries of undeath. Our ancestors defeated them here. We constructed our war operations center here as an illusion. No brute army, no simple display of force could uncover its secrets, and none ever shall. No, it is more than an illusion. It is a clever trap, this place our ancestors forged. It is a net covered in leaves that the savage beast willingly stands on, tempted by a bloody morsel, only to find itself hoisted, trapped, at the hunter's mercy. No, we shall guard our secret. No force can strike a target it cannot find. We shall not yield up our foothold on this world. Karava was once ours, and shall be ours again. We came here long, long ago. We did battle with our deathless foes, the Necrons, and won. This day we have lost. If they swarm again like locusts here, some other must stop them. For we shall be gone.
Having been fully briefed on the recent Eldar interference on Lorne 5 and in the conflict over Cronus, Force Commander Indrict Boreal kept a wary eye on the armies of Farseer Keris, although he might have made a cautious ally of the stern Eldar leader in other circumstances. Boreal did not hesitate to attack her stronghold in the Upper Wastes when the opportunity presented itself, in order to ensure the Blood Raven's complete subjugation of the Kaurava system. Boreal knew that in a direct attack, he was facing a shrewd tactician whose instincts and battlefield wisdom might well exceed his own. Nevertheless, he had full faith in his Marines to overpower and outmaneuver the Eldar at every opportunity. The gamble paid off, and the Blood Ravens took the day. The Space Marines found evidence suggesting an Eldar presence in the Upper Wastes that was surprisingly ancient. However, other than a small number of supply caches, the base consisted of very little, as the Eldar relied heavily on their webway. It may never be known what first awakened the cold legions of the Necron from their vast burial vaults in the southern coast of Kaurava III. Archives suggest that Imperial Guard survey crews may have been dispatched to coastal Imosa several months before the conflict. Others point to the strange and unknown influence of the warp storm, which could somehow have roused the deathless Necrons from their slumber. Out of the dry Imosan sands, an ancient complex emerged. Part burial ground, part power plant, part staging ground. As builder scarabs removed sands and restored structures to power, its clean-cut, symmetrical, and lifeless form emerged. It pulsed with the green glow of the strange power which fuels the Necrons. Vast reserves of it. Enough to drive an endless stream of monoliths and Necron soldiers. Anyone foolish enough to assail this unearthed necropolis would do well to heed that flow of energy. It is the source of the Necron's power, and if unchecked, there is little limit to what strength Necrons could marshal against their foes.
So, they come. Awake. I give you energy. Drink of it, and awake. They shall meet their ends. They shall join the army of death.
soldiers of the Blood Ravens chapter were no strangers to the dread Necron legions. However, unlike the vast underground labyrinth they had fought on Cronus, the Space Marines here found a vast and terrible city buried in the sands of the Emosan coast. Vast energy conduits pulsed beneath their feet, feeding power to a host of monoliths and a cold, lifeless army. Commander Boreal had been ready for all this. What he had not counted on was having to face a manifestation of the Catan god, the Great Deceiver. But even this ancient menace could not keep the Blood Ravens from victory. Their deeds that day would be scribed and illuminated in the Imperium histories for perpetuity. Afterwards, the Space Marines spent several days combing the sands of Emosa, destroying every last Necron before leaving the area to special demolition crews. Taking a lesson from the Cronus War, every suspicious stretch of the coast was repeatedly detonated to ensure against further Necron awakenings. The Dark Eldar little feared an attack on their base of operations, situated as it was on the dark side of the moon, well within the reaches of the warp storm of Kauravafor. The seventh ancient gate lay on that moon, but the Dark Eldar, knowing its technology well, had fixed it to work only for them when they had arrived there. The effect of this hubris and the general anarchic nature of Archon Tarrel's soldiers resulted in a sprawling makeshift reproduction of Komorah, the Dark Eldar home city. Surrounding the major war camp lay smaller camps, surrounded by miles of torture ground, a sort of cage garden of the homunculus Grumanael's making. Rich with plunder, enslaved scraps and goods, this area had grown and sprawled. Meanwhile, the center grew dense with powerful Dark Eldar and the legendary Asdrubael Vecht, leader of Taril's Blackheart Cabal, was said to oversee the war preparations there. To say the Dark Eldar were unprepared for an attack would not be quite accurate. The Dark Eldar are ever ready for battle. It is a sport and a passion to their kind, and there is no such thing as catching them off their guard. Nonetheless, the miles of torture gardens were poorly attended at best, and full of prisoners, many still capable of turning against their captors. For an attacker, there was a faint glimmer of hope.
We are fresh from the fight. We have shed blood. Death, terror, and anguish sang sweetly in our ears.
But Lord Taryn, have you taken prizes?
Do you doubt me, Grumenea? Many prisoners were taken. We have our tribute to Komara, and many left over from our slave chambers and your torture grounds.
Come, Archon! Come to my torture grounds. We win and lose. But always richer. Richer with slaves and spoils.
Indeed, we shall be well respected and rewarded when we return to Komara.
When we return, if we return. Return the victors. Return the vanquished. My way, where screams are flowers and pain their fragrance. Fine nest we have. High upon the cliff, hard to see, hard still to reach. Will any reach this nest?
Will they take away my garden? Are you questioning my right to lead? My inevitable victory? I am the deadly shadow and the bird of prey. I am the poisoned dagger that brings swift death. These crude and foolish armies know nothing of strategy. If they see a wall, they attack it. If they see an army, they charge at it. They will be too busy with each other to notice us. Or if they do, it will be too late. Worry not. And it is of no matter, we keep a keen watch. If an army approached, surely we would see it coming. Then, we would tear it to pieces. You fool! I will have your head for this! Quickly, back to cover! Well, if he had died, I should have taken his place. Now I must flee.
Charge! Space Marines attack! Charge!
The Blood Ravens looked down on and despised the cowardly, skulky methods of warfare that the Dark Eldar employed. Still, these vile Xenos posed a sufficient threat to the system and had to be dealt with. It was time to give them a taste of their own tactics. The Space Marines struck their moon base with force, and the element of surprise, routing the Blackheart Cabal and rendering them a non-threat to Imperial forces. Of the Space Marines recovered from the torture grounds and slave chambers, many had been so tortured or mutilated that they were no longer fit for service. Still, undergoing these privations was no dishonor in the eyes of the Brothers Space Marines, and they were sent out directly for medical treatment and inquisitorial review. Little was ever uncovered, and little will ever be known of how the warp storm was unleashed on the Karava system's fourth habitable planet. Whether guardsmen there grew corrupt and turned to evil worship, or whether the storm took them unawares, is an open question. What is without doubt is that at the storm's eye lay the lair of the Chaos Space Marines. And at the heart of this lair, a network of unholy and blood-stained shrines, linked somehow inextricably to the storm itself. Although the lethal warp storm would flicker and squall here and there, ever shifting, a permanent conduit to the warp was maintained between these shrines. A charged field of immateria whirled there, certain death to any who had not given themselves over fully to chaos. In that radiant, deadly energy field, strange shapes could be seen dancing, screaming, howling. Any would-be conqueror of this unholy citadel would somehow have to dispel the chaos field that protected it. To enter it would be certain death, and while it stood, nothing could reach the forces of chaos that lurked at its center.
They come! They come!
Yes, we feel them. They approach. Their blood shall flow at our feet. Blood for the blood god. Yes, we shall slake our thirst for death, for chaos, for terror. Yes.
They draw near. Let them come.
The very ground will poison you. Demons will appear from the warp when your back is turned. We shall lash out from every direction, and yours shall be the cries of death and horror. The sound of your doom will ring in your skull, in your soul. You shall tremble, and your blood shall be a gift to the Blood God. Let them come. We are ready. Lose! We cannot die! How can we?
Without our devotion? Without our sacrifice?
The horrid blossom of chaos will wither! Will die! This world is slipping from our grasp.
It is the wish of every Space Marine to seek revenge for the bloody wars of the Horus Heresy. When the loyal chapters battled the heretical traitors and earned themselves a place in the history of the Imperium. Force Commander Indrik Boreal knew well the fervor with which his men would fight, and strove to perfect his battlefield tactics so he could grant them the victory and glory which was, he felt, their due. Boreal's company of Blood Ravens acquitted themselves more than admirably against the Alpha Legion. Although they waded through miles of corrupted land into the very heart of the Warp Storm, where maddened cultists danced and chanted, and phantasmal horrors wafted through the air, not a single soldier swerved from his faith or duty. The Blood Ravens were proud soldiers that day, in the eyes of their commander, their order, and the entire Imperium. On that day, history was made, and they knew glory. It was no surprise that only the likes of the Blood Ravens should prevail in a battle so hard-fought and entrenched as the Kaurava conflict had proved. Under the capable guidance of Force Commander Indrik Boreal, the Ravens' 9th Company had acquitted themselves faultlessly. It was unfortunate that, in following their orders, they had been compelled to neutralize the armies of the Imperial Guard and Sisterhood. But such was war. Without doubt, the finest hour the Blood Ravens had known was the triumph over the vile forces of chaos. A Space Marine can aspire to no greater honor than fighting and defeating those treacherous blasphemers. Within days of the Blood Ravens' victory, the Warp Storm had vanished as mysteriously as it had come. After the war was won, a new fortress monastery was founded in the lands of solitude. That territory was given a new name, Borealum. Meanwhile, fresh Imperial Guard troops were brought to the Kauriva system to constitute a new and better regulated planetary defense force.